And good morning and welcome to Touch Base Daily. My name is Ron Foster and I'm here to touch base with you every day during the week and sometimes during the weekend. And I am so today is one of my this is one of you know when you do these podcasts and these video podcasts, this YouTube channel, there are there are some days you're doing it, you love what you do, and you meet people and you talk to people. But I am so honored today on this Wisdom Wednesday to have one of my favorite people in the world. And I know he probably says, "Oh, Ron, you always say that," but he really is. Madhavan is, I mean, to me, he's like Madonna. You can only call him Madhavan because that's all you need to say. And he's not like me as I'm out there, so he's a little more bashful. But today is Wisdom Wednesday and we have our special guest photographer, professional photographer on, and he's going to be sharing about the eclipse, his career, and what he is, what he's, just anything he wants to talk about, he can talk about. And but before we start, let's get with some hellos, and then we're gonna just dive right in because you know what, we're gonna need all of the time because we'll be here for just a little bit less than an hour. So we're gonna just really just do it and fill it in again. For all those that are coming in, if you have questions, make sure, and I'll repeat it again. If you have a question, put a Q and then your question in the comment box so that way I can star it and we can get back to it. Omar's in the building. My mentor is in the building. Daya is in the building. What's going on? Hannah is in the building. Miss Gwendolyn Jack. Houston Jack is in the building. Kelly is in the building. I always like saying Kelly. Oh, you guys are here. And for those that are on their way, well, we're not waiting for folks. We're just gonna get started because again, we need every minute. So before I go there though, I want to share with you just some things from the screen, just a couple. But we're gonna be using our screens, we're gonna be using this technology we hear. Um, yeah, this is it. This is gonna be a good, this is good. This is good. I'm so excited. Let me just show you a couple of pictures from the work of Madhavan's work, I should say. And we've seen he for some of us, he's not new to our community because he's part of this community. And but yeah, his work always leaves me spellbound. And it's one thing when I follow several photographers. I love a lot of photographers. I get into their work. I follow what they do. But when you know someone personally, it changes your perspective in another way. It gives you a deeper insight into their work because you actually engaged, you know their personality, you know how they roll, you just know them, you know who they are. So when you look at their work, it has a deeper resonance with you. If I can say that. I mean, I go in and like, "Oh, yeah, this is what he was thinking. Oh, yeah, I'm checking this angle out." This is one of his photos. This is at the Jackie, Kennedy, Jackie Onassis, lake. I guess you could call it the reservoir, and, facing what we call Billionaire Road here in New York City. And Madhavan, he takes advantage of all the colors in the sky and the landscape, cityscapes. And then we have this photo of, waiting for Stonehenge, I'm saying Manhattan Henge. I should be in London right now, right? But and you see he takes advantage of the light, his skills with the camera, getting those beautiful dragging of the lights moving through the 42nd Street. And then you get something as beautiful as this, as the um, Manhattan Hinge, the sun in the middle of 42nd Street, getting ready to drop behind the Palisades in New Jersey. Anyway, for those that have already met Madhavan, and let me just let me introduce the people that don't know him. This gentleman is not just a photographer, but he's a scientist. And he has the ability to combine science. I mean, photography in itself is a science. That's why it's called phi. But he's combined astronomical science with photography science, paired them together in such a way that when you go through all his feeds, you'll see position of the moon, position of the sun, positioning over landmarks. Absolutely incredible work. So, without any further ado, I'm going to bring him on because this brother just got back from photographing the eclipse, what we call in America the eclipse across America. So I'm excited to introduce to you all Mr. Madhavan. Bring him to the stage. What's going on, bro?
Hey, good morning. Good morning, my friend. How you doing?
Good morning. Good morning. How are you feeling today?
I am exhausted, but I am exhausted with a giant smile on my face.
I
It's good
could
to be here.
only it is so good to have you here. Believe and some of the folks when I announced that you were coming, they were like, I gotta be there. I'm going to be at this one. This
Oh,
is when I got to be there.
oh man. I hope I live
So
up to those
you
expectations.
got a fan base, sir. You have a fan base, and especially in this community. Um, but yeah, I where should we begin? Let's just go straight. Let's just go dive right into it.
Let's do it.
How did you come up with the idea? Where did you start to say, I'm going to photograph the eclipse in 2024, the eclipse across America? What made you decide you were going to photograph it?
Well, I was all right. So maybe let's start with you know, during the intro you talked about the community of friends and photographers that you and I belong to, and I'm very, very fortunate to belong to a group of photographers. Half of us are here in New York City and the other half are down in DC, and we collectively decided a year ago
Mm,
that we wanted to photograph the eclipse. On a personal note, it's something that I, had always wanted to do. I photographed, I photographed other eclipses before. I've never photographed a total eclipse. I've seen two partial eclipses. I photographed the annular eclipse last year in New Mexico,
mhm.
but I have never ever photographed or seen, for that matter. I've never witnessed a total eclipse, and so it was something I'd always wanted to do. I was in this community of other, great photographers, and we all collectively said, "Hey, we should go photograph this total eclipse." That was about a year ago, and the plans kind of just came into place from there.
Mm. Now, where did you start? Did you say, you know what? I'm going to pick Texas, or I'm going to pick. You were in Maine, correct? That you did your
We ended
you
up
got your work, and
we ended up in Maine. Yep.
can I? I'm gonna have to show the folks one of your results of this. Here we go. Let me just share this one. This is so beautiful. Here we go. Look at that. That is perfection. Perfection. Um, what did you have to do? Well, I don't even know where to. I'm so like excited about this whole event for you. Is where did you start? Where did you start pinpointing like how to do this? Like,
Yeah.
did you? Because I remember you were supposed to be in Texas.
I was supposed to be in Texas. Well, maybe we'll start there. Let's
Yeah,
start.
let's start there.
So we decided that we were going to do this eclipse. One of the things when you get serious about this stuff is you get serious about, like you said, the movement of the sun and the moon at any given point in time. But you also get, when you start swinging big
Mm-hmm.
for something like this, right? You don't take chances, and you don't,
Mm.
So what we did was a couple of us went on to, the National Oceanographic Administration, their website. They have climate data, right? They have climate data by state, by city, by month, historically, going back, decades. And so you can look and say, what is my statistical probability of seeing clouds in Cleveland, Ohio? Just arbitrarily, saying Cleveland, but you go through. So first, what we did was we laid out the path of totality, right? The moon shadow. We
Yes.
knew it was going to start in Mexico, enter the U.S. in Texas, and then go up northeast direction, right? Going through the heartland up into the northeast, New England, and then into Atlantic Canada before exiting out into the ocean. So we knew that.
Mm.
So we knew all the states and we knew all the cities on the center line. And then we went and compared to climate data, historical climate data, and we knew that our chances of getting clear skies were the highest in the Southwest. It's mostly desert, right? It's there's always a chance of getting clouds, but you want to
Yes.
maximize your chance for clear skies. And so
Yes.
ultimately we decided on Austin, Texas. That was a year
Mm.
ago. And so we booked our flights. We reserved 3 different Airbnbs. There's a lot of us going, right? And we had all these, rental cars and all of that. And then we kind of just sat back. And then we said, all right, our prep, our logistical prep is done. Now we've got to go out and figure out how we shoot a total eclipse. There were maybe, 2 or 3 people that had done it before. Most of us had
Mhm.
never done a total eclipse. So then we started, kind of teaching ourselves and sharing with each other. Hey, watch this video. Look at this one. Read this article. Here's how you do
Wow.
it. And then that we did that for the year. And then about 12 days before April 8th,
Yes.
it was like you take the end of a string and you pull it, and it just started unraveling, right?
Unraveling.
Everything just went wrong. All of a sudden, clouds started moving into Texas. Now it was 12 days out, and right, if you start following weather, a 14-day weather forecast has a 50% accuracy. So we're like,
Yes.
oh boy, all right, it could change. Let's hold on, right? So 12 days, 11 days, 10 days, 9 days. By day 9, by day 8, those clouds are not moving. They're still there.
Mm.
They're still forecasting it. So now you're at about 75% accuracy. And we're like, we can't chance this, because if we wait and wait and wait, our chances of getting a hotel somewhere else are going to be gone. And
Yes.
so at that point, we started looking, and we could see that the Northeast, ironically, was where there were clear skies forecasted. And so we said, all right, what about Plattsburgh, New York? And so we looked
Mm.
at hotels, and of course, right, what do you expect 7 days before a big event like this? Hotels are like, charging. I mean, like a Days Inn is charging like $900 a night.
No way.
Yeah. So,
Holy
we're
moly.
trying to find, a reasonable hotel that isn't like, it's clean, but, isn't going to cost an arm and a leg.
You don't want to be in the Roach Motel.
Exactly. Right. So roaches check in, but they don't check out. I want to come back home after all of this. So we found some hotels, and we started sharing it in our group.
Mhm.
And ultimately, and then every day forecast starts changing, right?
Mm.
It's like clear skies in Plattsburgh, nope, cloudy skies in Plattsburgh. Clear skies in Burlington, nope, cloudy skies in Burlington. I'm like, oh my God, what do we do? All right, well, let's hedge our bets. Got a hotel in Plattsburgh, got a hotel in Vermont, got a hotel in New Hampshire, got 2 hotels in Maine, right? All of them with cancellation policies that are
Yes.
kind of generous. We lost the Airbnb in Texas, because that was an Airbnb and we're past the window. So we knew that
Mhm.
just eat the cost of that. And then day by day, we, kept watching the weather. And we were supposed to go up on Saturday morning. Friday night at 11 p.m., we finally, we got together as a group, and we're like, it's Maine. That's where we're going. And then we canceled everything else, all the other hotels. And then Saturday morning at 6 a.m., one of my friends came over, picked me up, and we carpooled. And then we had 3 cars driving up to Maine. And then the group from Washington D.C., they went up to Canada. They went up to Sherbrooke, Canada, near Montreal. And so they were there. We were in Maine, and that's how the whole thing went down.
Wow. And we have a video. You created a reel this morning for your Instagram community.
I did.
And we're going to just kind of look at that. Hold on a second. Let's get that. It's all cued in. And let me pop that on. Pop this guy up here. And
you can turn the audio on.
Oh, there we go. Is it going to come on? I don't know if it'll pop up on the screen. Is it audio during this period?
Yeah, there's audio in this whole thing.
It's
interesting. I don't know. Oh, well.
Let's see here. Let me see. Can you hear it?
There you go. See, people are going absolutely crazy.
Filters off.
Wow. But we'll do it one more time so we can hear the sound at the beginning. So you had all of your gear. You had your drone and everything with
I had 5 cameras.
5 cameras. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
And let me tell you, it was, so we went up on Saturday, drove up to Bangor, and then, by the time we got there, it was evening. We kind of rested, and then Sunday morning, we had planned out. And Bangor is not in the path of totality; it's outside. So,
yes.
We had plotted a bunch of places, 66 different places. And we narrowed it down to 5. We said, all right, we're going to go check these 5 out on Sunday, so that we can see what the view looks like, what the parking situation looks like. Is it going to be super crowded? And so we're doing that. And then there was one place that was like another 3 hours away from where we were in the other direction. We didn't go there. It was too far away. But we had one of our friends coming up from Pennsylvania that was driving through Northwest Maine to get to us. And we were texting and we're like, hey, why don't you go check this place out? It's too far from us. So she and her husband go and check that out. And they texted us and said, this place is amazing. Drop what you're doing. This is where you're going to come. So we went home Sunday night. And then we were all concerned that we were going to hit just, a boatload of traffic on Monday. And not just traffic, but once you got there, would we be able to park?
Yes.
Prime spot for our tripods. So we're like, what time should we leave? Should we leave 6 o'clock? No, 6 a.m. is way too late. Should we leave at 5? No, 5 a.m. is too late, right? We're going to leave at 3 a.m. So,
yes.
So at 2:15, I set my alarm, right? And so 2:30, I get up, we start loading all our backpacks and our gear into the cars, and we caravanned up at 2:30 up into Northwest Maine, this little town called Chain of Ponds, Maine, which is on the Canadian border. It's out of nowhere. There's no cell phone reception. There's no nothing.
Man.
It is about, if you know where Sugarloaf is. Sugarloaf is a pretty famous ski resort. It's about a half hour northwest past Sugarloaf toward the Canadian border. So we're like probably about 5-6 miles from the Canadian border.
Yeah, I could see that there was still snow there's snow everywhere from the storm last weekend.
We had a nor'easter.
Last weekend.
2 days before.
Oh, that's right. It was recent, right? It was just 2 days before.
Power outages but look, I mean, this is Maine. They know how to deal with snow.
Yes.
So snow was cleared. Power was restored by the time we got there. but we left, at 3 a.m. We got there at like 5:45
Yes.
a.m. And then we started scouting the whole. It was a campground. We started scouting this whole campground, finding these different locations. I found my spot. I wanted to be like right down by one of the lakes, down at the water side, because I was hoping to get some reflections, and that's where we ended up. And then, so we could talk about the whole event, and the very, very surreal, the whole experience. But then, coming back, we hit all sorts of traffic. We hit eclipse traffic. We hit, the ski traffic from Sugarloaf, and we got back to the hotel.
People were skiing after the
Well,
eclipse.
they said the Sugarloaf had 250,000 people on the mountain for the eclipse. Now, I have a hard time believing that, but that's what the reports were. 250,000 people at Sugarloaf. That's 250,000 people in Sugarloaf.
That's a whole lot of people.
Northwestern Maine. So we got back to our hotel in Bangor at 12:30 a.m. the next day. So I was up from 2 a.m. to 12:30 a.m. Let me tell you, that was the scariest drive coming back, because we're all sort of like falling asleep and
you're exhausted.
And I'm like, God, I hope a moose doesn't dart in front of my
because your reactions are gonna be real slow. What kind of gear now? You have 5 cameras. In order, for instance, let's go with this shot here. Let's pop on this shot. To get this shot, what was the gear requirements?
Okay, so let me tell you about my 5 cameras. I really have 2 professional cameras. I have a Canon R5, and that's my main camera. That's the one I use for this photo. And then I have a Canon 5D Mark IV. That's my backup camera. So when you go on these trips, you always take a backup camera. You never know. Camera breaks, it decides it's going to stop working, somebody knocks it over, whatever, right? So you always have a backup camera. In this case, I used both of them because the main camera was for this kind of shot, and then the backup camera, I had a wide angle time lapse going for the eclipse. I also had an Action 360 camera for capturing 360, like behind the scenes kind of action. And then I had my drone. That was my 4th camera. And I had my iPhone, right? The iPhone was just sort of like taking snaps of people. So yeah, I had 5 cameras that I was at any given point in time, I was operating one of those, those cameras.
And it seems like they were almost going on at the same time. The only thing that probably wasn't going on at the same time as the eclipse was the drone, correct?
That's right. I took the drone shots were all like, at like 7 o'clock in the morning before we started getting into the action. But on this shot, so you asked me, so on this was my Canon R5. I had a 100 to 500 millimeter lens mounted on it. And, at first my original thought was, well, I'm going to shoot at 500 millimeter, right? Right? And in fact, I have a 2X teleconverter. So you put the teleconverter behind a lens. If it's a 2X, it's going to, you can double the focal length, right? Yes. So I can get an effective 1,000 millimeter focal length. You can zoom right in on that sun. That was my original plan for this eclipse. And then I kind of thought about it, and I thought, no, actually, I want to get the corona of the sun, and you don't want to be at 1,000 because the sun will fill up the frame. You're not going to be able to see all of the plasma and gas, the corona like you see here. So I shot this at 400 millimeter, and I left it at 400 the entire time. Yeah,
400 millimeter.
Yeah.
And what kind of, like when I was here, obviously being here in New York, we were all gathered in Bryant Park and all over the city, and everywhere there was an open space, it was packed. And but there were gentlemen that were on the lawn of Bryant Park with their cameras, and some of them had created these makeshifts, like pieces of what we call eyeglasses, or then they had some had wraparounds, and they had and then some had actual professional filters.
Yeah.
What did you end up using? Did you end up using one of your filters? Was there a special filter that had to be used for the eclipse because of the sensitivity of the sun? what was your decision making on that?
Yeah, so I used a filter from a company called Thousand Oaks Optical,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of people will buy um, a proper glass filter that's screwed on, um, and I elected not to do that. And I'll tell you why.
Mm.
Because uh, you know when you so the hardest part about the eclipse, right? So like here, you said you were at Bryant Park, you saw the partial eclipse, right? And
90,
it's
yeah, we got 90%.
90%. Well, when you get to about a minute before totality, when you're at 100%, you have to do a couple of things. At 90%, you never take your filter off. Sun is way too
Right.
bright. You'll burn your eyes, you'll burn your sensor, right?
Yes.
So at 100%, you have to take your filter off, because if you don't, you're not going to see totality, right? It's there to block out the
Ah,
sun's rays. Well, guess what? When the moon's blocking the sun's rays, you don't need the filter. You take the filter off, you take your eyeglass, your glasses off of
yes.
your head too. Um, and so that's the hardest part, because you have in from the time it gets to about 99%
Yes.
to you get there's like a whole series of phenomena that occur. There's this thing called a diamond ring, then there's these Bailey's beads, and all of those things that occur, and then you get to totality. That whole sequence takes about 10 seconds, right? And Bailey's, and as when the diamond ring and Bailey's beads occur, there's 3 seconds from there to totality.
What?
You do not have time to sit there, unplug your filter
Exactly.
and whatever. I mean, what a lot of people do is they'll take it off a little bit early and leave the camera, exposed for maybe 30 seconds, a minute. It's not going to harm your camera for a minute, but I didn't want to chance any of that.
Yes.
So what
Yes.
I ended up doing is I used magnetic filters from a company called Case, with a K.
Yes. 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 I've heard of
I'm the
them.
ambassador. I'm the U.S. ambassador for Case. So so if anybody needs a Case filter,
Make sure you gotta give us your code,
I can get you the discount.
yes.
Absolutely. So, but Case is magnetic, right? So it's just slap on, slap off, slap on, slap off.
Yes.
And so what I ended up doing was I used the Thousand Oaks optical film, which is just a sheet, film sheet. It's a solar film,
Mm-hmm.
and I cut it and then mounted it onto the magnetic ring of the
Okay.
Case system, so that I could just magnetically, put it on, and then like literally in half a second, I could just pull it off and put it back
Wow.
on, pull it off. So a lot easier. I wasn't going to stress myself with threading and unthreading a filter, so I did it that way. And and also remember, I'm operating two cameras, right? One that shot this one, and then the wide angle. So I needed time to be able to take that filter off, start
Mm-hmm.
taking shots of a totality, turn the wide angle camera on, and then go back to this one. Yeah, somebody asked a question down in the chat. Can we answer some of those?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. We
Yeah.
can.
So on timing, there's an app called SET, Solar Eclipse Timer,
No,
and
wait.
go on.
There is an app
There's always
there's
an
an app for
opportunity.
everything,
There's
isn't
an
it?
app for everything, my friend.
What's the app? What is it called
SET,
again? Was it? Hold on. Let me.
Solar Eclipse Timer. SET.
SET. Okay, I'm gonna put that in here. Oh, SET. Okay, putting that in here. And so people can just kind of like know what that is. SET timer.
SET timer. And so you go in there, you put in your GPS coordinates of where you are,
Mm-hmm.
and it will tell you exactly like when different things occur. It'll tell you when when the moon makes first contact with the sun.
Mm-hmm.
It's called C1. C1 is it's when they do these eclipses, they break them out into phases. Phase C1 is when the moon makes its first contact with the outer edge of the sun. Phase C2 is right when it goes into totality. Phase C3 is when it comes out of totality, and phase C4 is when it makes its last contact with the sun as it completely exits, right? And this app calls those out audibly. So
Wow.
you get your phone sitting right next to you, and it'll say, 1 minute to C1, and you're like, okay, I gotta get ready, right? And get your settings all
Really?
set, yeah. And then it'll start counting 10, 9, 8, 7, right? And then at 0, you are exactly at C1. So you have time to like get your settings right, and then you take your shot. So yeah. So SCT
Technology.
timer.
Technology. Oh man. What other little tools you had to use? I mean,
Oh, let's see.
that's fascinating.
Yeah.
SET. That is definitely something
So I'll
for
tell
people
you,
to
so for
know.
something like this, for this eclipse,
Yes.
for this photo, actually, I told you it was with an R5 400 millimeter focal length. I had the timer with helping with the times, and I had a remote control, a wired remote.
Mm,
There are some people that use the Bluetooth remote for their camera.
yes.
And one of the guys I was with, I feel so bad. I mean, this guy he's a PhD physicist. He knows his stuff cold, but he was using a Bluetooth remote for his camera,
Oh no.
and I hate Bluetooth remotes. I refuse to use them. And he's like, nope, I'm not going to have any problem. I'm not going to have any problem. Well, guess what happened? 10 seconds
Yes.
before totality, it's like failed to connect.
No.
He was beside himself. So I had a wired remote. It goes right into the camera. I had no issues, right? And you want to use some kind of remote, whether you use a wired or a wireless Bluetooth, whatever. You want to
Yes.
use a remote because this is taken at 400 millimeters. If you
Mm-hmm.
touch the camera to make any kind of adjustment to your setting,
It's gonna
it's
move.
going to sit there and start shaking,
Yes.
right? And so I had a wireless or a wired remote for this photo. Obviously, I was on a tripod because, again, I'm trying to eliminate any kind of vibration or shake. Yeah, that was it. And then
Wow.
you just have to know what kind of settings to use for what kind of ISO and but I will tell you that to get this. Oh, the other thing I did was I had to bracket. So this is not a single shot
Okay.
because you can't not to get a shot like this. So the Corona is the sort of the
Before you go there, because there may be some
uh,
people that don't know what bracketing is, could you
yeah,
share what bracketing is?
absolutely. So right. So you know how when you take a picture of, let's just say, a sunset,
Mm-hmm.
like with your iPhone or your Android, you ever notice how the sky looks great and then everything in the ground is completely dark? Because the
Yes.
camera can't see as well as our eyes can, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, like you can look at the ground and you can see all the detail on the ground, and you can see the sky and the sunset and all the colors in the sky at the same time. Cameras can't do that. Not even the best camera that's available with today's technology is able to do that. So you do what's called bracketing. You take one shot exposed for the sky, you take another shot exposed for the ground, right? You got to change your settings to make the ground brighter. And then what you do is when you process your photos, you blend those two together to create the final shot. So
Mm.
bracketing is you start with a base shot, like what a basic, setting, and then you change your settings, usually your shutter speed.
Mm-hmm.
You'll increase your shutter speed, making it faster, which makes the scene darker, or you reduce your shutter speed, which means you make it longer, and that makes your scene brighter. So bracketing means I start with my base shot and I take one shot that's a little bit darker, one shot that's a little bit brighter, and then I have 3 shots, and I can blend them together to create a shot with a wider, we call it dynamic range,
Yes.
right? So for something like the Corona is there all the time. You can't see it because the sun is so bright that it's just not visible.
Yes.
But in totality, only in 100% totality, the Corona is there because the moon is blocking out the light from the sun. So you can see it with all of those photos or videos that you see where the sun looks like a dot in the sky, the eclipse
Yes.
photos, and you can see this white glow all over. You see this big black ball in the sun and that white halo around it. That's the Corona. But what you can't see with your naked eye, you can only see the inner Corona. That's the part
Mm.
that's right next to the sun. Then there's the mid Corona and then the outer Corona, right? It goes off for millions of miles into space.
Yes.
You don't see those, but the camera can see it if you bracket. So
Wow.
you take the base setting for the sun and the inner corona, and then you have to increase your shutter speed to let more light in to get
Mm-hmm.
the mid corona, and then you increase your shutter speed even
Whew.
more to get more light in to get the outer corona. All of this, you got to make sure that you don't increase your shutter speed so much that you get blur, because remember, the sun and the moon are moving, and so you can't exceed, unless you have unless you have a tripod
Yes.
that's tracking.
Yes.
I didn't, but you have, so you have to like factor all of those things in. And so this I bracketed with, so my Canon R5 can do a 7 bracket, which means it can go to take a base shot, and then it can take 3 shots that are brighter, 3 shots that are darker, right? It can go, so like in this particular case, I took a shot at 1/30th of a second.
Mm-hmm.
That was my base shot, and then
Mm-hmm.
it went a little bit brighter to 1/10 of a second, and then it went a little bit brighter still to 1/5 of a second, and then it went brighter still to 1 second,
Wow.
and then it went the other way and went to like 1/60th of a second, 1/100th of a second, 1/250th of a second. So I had 7 shots, 3 on this side, 3 on this side, and a base shot. And I combined all of those in post-processing. And then
Wow.
I had to adjust the clarity to get those streamers that you see. But that's how I did it. And yeah. So
Were you able to get
I'm not happy with
also
this. I'm
the
still not happy
beads?
with this. Go ahead.
I mean, no, but I mean, it's so fascinating, and I mean, you break it down so clearly, which is great. But were you able to? I mean, again, this is happening within seconds. So, were you able to get all of the photos that you wanted, like the ring, the diamond ring, or whatever they call it, and then
I did.
sapphire
I
ring?
did.
I'm
Yeah,
not
the
sure which one
diamond
they
ring.
call.
I think the diamond ring. I don't remember if I posted it, but it was on the reel
Oh,
when you shared the reel, the diamond
uh-huh.
ring shot was on there, and that was just
Ah, okay. Let me go. Let me see. Let
insane.
me go back to that.
Yeah,
Let me
if
see.
you go back to reel, the diamond ring was on it.
But
You can
also,
actually hear my friend Veronica. You can hear her shouting, "Diamond ring, diamond ring!" There it is, and then I throw the diamond ring.
but then I mean, like you said, you see all of these. You could see. They say you could see the storms. You could see the mountains or
Prominences.
valleys
You
around
can see
it.
the you can see the prominences. The prominences are like these red um, flares, essentially, right on the surface of the sun, in the
Yes,
chromosphere, which is right on the surface of the sun. You can see them. They look like these,
there it is,
like
right there.
flame. Yeah, those red, and you can see them with your naked eye at totality. I
Wow,
was absolutely shocked that you could see all of those with your naked eye. But yeah,
wow.
they look like flames that are sort of like leaping up into the sky on the surface of the sun. But you
Yeah,
got
when I
all of
saw
those.
all those photos, I was like, oh my god, what's that? I mean,
Yeah,
and I think as technology gets better, I mean, years ago we saw these pictures when we were kids and younger. You didn't have the detail we have today. The details that anyone really can get.
yeah.
It's just really it's astounding. It really
It's
is astounding how much detail you can get in these photos with the cameras we have today.
yeah, that's true. It's amazing how much processing power is in the palm of your hand. I mean, your phone camera, right? Just the ability to take photos on your phone camera far exceed old SLR cameras from before, right? The
Wow.
resolving power. But for things like a solar eclipse, moon photography, you've done tips on how to shoot the moon before, and
Yes.
for that's where your phone camera is not going to work. That's where
Yeah,
you
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 can't shoot with the
need
moon. You
something
can't
like
shoot the moon
this.
with a phone camera.
You just
Just phone.
can't.
Now, what was your this whole event?
Yeah.
You were doing your thing. This is a whole event. What was your biggest takeaway? Your biggest aha moment? The biggest moment that you say, you know what, this happened, and This is going to be recorded in my strategy or whatever for the rest of my life. What was your
My
biggest aha moment?
I don't know if it was an aha moment. I can share you the biggest profound moment. It wasn't
Mm,
an aha. It wasn't a takeaway. It was just a moment of just, you know, profundity when the look, nothing prepares you for, you can read about it. I'm a seasoned photographer. I've seen the Northern Lights. I've photographed the Northern Lights. I've seen a lot of stuff, and I've seen eclipses. But like I said, this is my first total eclipse. That moment of totality, when you know when that last glint of light, it's called Bailey's beads.
mhm.
They look like little beads on the, it's the last streaks of light from the sun that are being reflected off of the craters and mountains and valleys on the moon. They look
Yes.
like little tiny beads. When the last one of those disappears and you're in complete totality, it's really dark. The wind, like this, everything goes dark. The wind starts picking up, right? The animals start going crazy because they don't know what just happened.
Yes.
And let me tell you, as a seasoned photographer, your brain goes upside down because
Mm,
everything that you take for granted, we take for granted that if I drop this, it's going to fall. We take
yes.
those things for granted, right? You take for granted that you look up and you're going to see a sun up in the sky during the daytime. And you look up and there's a black ball in space up in the sky. It looks like a giant eyeball or a black hole or whatever you want to
Yes.
call it looking at you. It's frightening. It is absolutely frightening and awe-inspiring at the same time.
Uh,
People started weeping. People started
yes.
crying in that moment, right? These are adults who go off to, north of the Arctic Circle to Lapland in Finland to shoot the Northern Lights. These are people that go to Antarctica and they see a solar eclipse and suddenly you feel small, you feel scared.
Mm,
Um, Even though you know what's happening
yes.
scientifically, it hits you at your core, in a spiritual place, and you're just,
Mm,
yeah, which is why a lot of photographers just forget what to do because they're just absorbed in the moment and they're just like, wow, I don't, you're speechless. um that was my takeaway. It's just that
wow.
moment that, like, now I get to keep that for the rest of my life.
For the
It's
rest of
just,
your life.
yeah,
You'll always have that.
yep, until the next one, because now
Yeah. And now, look,
Spain is next, man. Spain is next.
you're going to Spain to take.
Well, I will go to Spain in 2026. That's the next total eclipse
So now
in
I
Spain.
heard also in 2026 is also Iceland.
Greenland, Iceland, Spain.
Wow.
So, the thing with Iceland, just like the Northeast, right, is the weather is
Unpredictable in
unpredictable,
weather.
right? But look what happened here. Look what happened here. I mean,
Yeah.
unpredictable weather, and we ended up in the Northeast anyway. So Iceland could work out, but I think we were lucky here where we could get in our cars and drive up to Maine. If I go to Iceland and plan on Iceland and it's clouded out, how am I going to get to Spain? So I
Yes.
want to maximize that. So I think Spain is
Because
probably
Spain gives you more leverage.
gives me more leverage. That's right. I can go up and down,
Ah,
chasing clouds too.
I didn't
So
think
that's
about that.
probably going to be it.
I may have to
Yeah.
be. I may be joining you on the Spain expedition.
All right. Let's do it.
We're gonna take Touch Base Daily on. I mean, obviously, we'll just put Touch Base Daily down while it's happening, but it would be. I said I definitely have to do it. It's. I
Yeah.
think obviously the next one in New York would be. I'll be 81 years old when it happens in New York. So, um, but
80 will be the new 50, my friend.
no, exactly. But it, when I was watching the anchor people, like some of the season anchor people from ABC News here in New York City, I follow Lee Goldberg a lot, and I correspond on Instagram with Lee Goldberg and some of the weather folks at Channel 7, and you could see like the way you just explained it is exactly what Lee Goldberg was saying. It's
Mm.
just especially if you love meteorology, you love science, you just have this love for science. And I always tell people, you know, there's this agent in the world that says, oh, if you believe in science and you don't believe in God, I say it's contrary. I, like you just said, you see how big the universe is. You see how insignificant we are as humans, how small we are in the universe. And all of this is happening on time. And this is, the whole universe is working in unison to
Mhm.
create these incredible moments.
That's right. That's a great way to describe it, right? And let me tell you, once you do one of these, there's,
Yes.
at least if you're like me, you get bitten by that bug, and then you want to, then you start understanding why people take such joy and pleasure in
Yes.
figuring out, when is the moon going to be over the Empire State Building? When is the sun going to be, over, right, the Statue of Liberty? Um, because all of these things occur, and they can all be calculated down to, the fractions of a second,
Mm-hmm.
with math. And you and I don't have to do math. There's apps that'll do this for us, and
Yes.
and people just get really, really excited about all these things that happen in the universe. Whether we believe in them, whether we believe in science or we don't believe in science, it does not take away, reality does not change just because you choose not to believe in it.
You know, you always, I mean, and this is, and just so people can see the rest of your work, this was, I tuned in when you were getting yourself together. This is your gear, and you were saying, "No more Texas. It's not happening. It's not
No
going to
more
be."
text.
And this
That's
little
right.
car got me going. I chuckled when I saw this. I was like, he is finding his way to his new location, and then you get there. I just
Yeah.
thought that was so fun watching this video. You really did include us, folks that follow you on Instagram. You gave us a sense of the complexity of what you guys were doing.
Yeah.
And but you didn't let anything stop you. You didn't let, I mean, that's such a great analogy to living life, is that things will change. Things will cause you to change course,
That's
but
right.
you keep going.
Yep.
And this little car made that all sound so real. Like, you just get in your buggy and you keep going. You keep
Yep.
showing up. You keep doing it. And
Yep.
I mean, you did it well, sir. You really did it well. And just so other people can see a lot more of your work, I'm just going to go through here. Now, this right here. Now, this is a photo of an eclipse,
Yes.
correct?
That's the annular eclipse last year.
Ah.
So an annular eclipse occurs because, a total eclipse occurs because of alignment, right? The
Yes.
moon, and it occurs because of an interesting mathematical fact, which is the the sun. When you take the size of the moon in the sky,
Mhm.
the size of the apparent size of the sun in the sky and the moon in the sky are almost exactly the same, within plus or minus some variation, but they're about the same, which is half an arc degree, right? If you think that the
Mm.
sky is broken up into 360 degrees all the way around, half of a
Yes.
degree is the size of the sun and the size of the moon. And that is because the sun is 400 times further away than the moon's diameter is in the sky. And so it's an astronomical coincidence that that they are the exact same size, apparent size in the sky. So an eclipse occurs when the moon, of course, passes in front of the sun,
Mhm.
and it blocks the sun out. But there's variation to that, right? Depending on
Yes.
where Earth's orbit is not perfectly circular, it's elliptical. And so there are certain points in time where the Earth is a little bit further away from the sun. And so in an annular eclipse, the Earth is a little bit further away, meaning the sun is a little bit further away,
Mm-hmm.
and so the moon doesn't fully cover the sun, and you get an annular eclipse, right?
Wow.
But yesterday, obviously, the everything, pardon the pun, everything aligned, right? The stars aligned,
Everything
and the
aligned.
sun was exactly the moon was exactly the size of the sun in the sky, and then you get a total
Wow.
eclipse.
Man. Guys, if you have not been to his page, let me just put his Instagram up there so you can see that. Let me get that there. And if you have any questions, please put a Q in the comment box and ask your question. We have a couple of moments you can ask some questions. But his IG account is KPM Images. And also, like I said, I'm a big fan of Madovens. And he also has a book. And that book is called um, From Dawn to Dusk, A Year in New York City, with some amazing photos from this collection that you see here on Instagram. Like I said, he is a scientist on both levels as a photographer. And knowing where the moon is, where the sun is, I was so upset that I missed this one with the sun. He was like, Ron, y'all need to come out for the Brooklyn Bridge. And but it's just, if you want to get lost in photography, this is one page, one person's work that you will just continually go through and just be wild. And the Milky Way, the auroras, the sun, the cityscapes, the landscapes, it's just one beautiful photo after another. And some of these are in the book as well. But definitely take a moment to, look at, look at the light coming through the
Got lucky.
windows of the plane. This is just bonkers. It just makes you just, man. So any questions out there? Let me just see if any questions while I go through this. Flexibility, Trish says. And Trish says, chasing it, why we love light as photographers. Yeah, we love light. We are light chasers. We are the light chasers. Kimmy says so beautiful. If you enjoyed this, could you please put some likes inside of this comment box if you enjoyed this? If you enjoyed some time with this amazing brother. And I sincerely mean that. I met him. He came to one of our RLP Urban Photographers meetup, and he came, checked it out, was like, hey, he's just, he came and visit, and the next thing it came out again. And I was like, who's this dude? And then I saw his work, and I was like, whoa, we got a pro here. But he, in all of it, and again, in all of his experience and knowledge, and he's been mentored by let's get, let me just go
Colby
there.
Brown.
Let's make sure. Yeah, Tony, right?
Colby Brown.
Colby Brown, right? Colby Brown. And but Madovan is one of the most humble people I know. Even when I try to give him some props, he's like, that camera away. No. He is so humble, and it's so refreshing. I've been now in this photography game as a professional for now 8 years, right? Yeah, going on 8 years. And I've come across a whole lot of folks. And the folks that are arrogant and beside themselves, they can't really shoot, most of them. It's sad to say. But the folks that are the pros in the world, the people that are the most amazing photographers, they have this simplicity of humility that they wear as a cloak. And it's so good to see that with Madovan. I see a question in here. Here's a question. From Omar, when are you doing a National Geographic special? It's got to come soon. It's got to come.
Oh man, Omar, I guess when they accept me.
Yeah, I'm praying for it though. You're up there, man.
So
You deserve.
my mentor Colby, he is a National Geographic photographer. That's sort of what has helped me a lot. So, hey, fingers crossed. One day I'll get in.
And Paro says, "Do you sell your work online?"
I do. I do. I do. Can you put my link up to my website, Ron?
Yes, indeed, sir. I'm gonna go right there. There we go.
Yeah. So I do sell work online. The book as well that Ron talked about before is online as well.
This is his online page. That's the man at work.
It's me in Iceland trying to
It
not
looks
fall
like I
off.
was like, that's Iceland. I know Iceland. Oh man. Yeah, bro. And also subscribe to his newsletter, so that way he can share with information what he's doing. So make
Yeah.
sure the best way you can help photographers is definitely sign up for the newsletter. Sign up, just support in every way you can, and that's how photographers get to take their gift and their craft to the next level. It's the
Yes, indeed.
community that supports them. So that's his page there. So check that out. That's the website, kpmphotos.com. Any other questions? Any other questions before we get ready to leave out of here? You got 1 minute for a question, y'all. 1 minute. I think we got the book, we got the website, you got the IG, you got the story behind the photos. Mr. Madhavan, I want to say thank you for joining us.
Absolutely.
I am so happy that you were able to share. Yeah, and it timed out rightly, because we were going to switch you on to last week, but then it didn't work out to switch you. And I was like, okay. And because he just, Monovan just had his his first work in the gallery, which I was live at and I was sharing. And that was absolutely beautiful also. So Monovan, your career is picking up. It's doing great. You're doing great things, brother.
I appreciate it, my friend. It's it's a lot of hard work, but like I said to you, before we went live, I am exhausted from 24 hours of staying awake, but I'm exhausted with a big old smile on my face. I'm having a blast. I'm living the dream.
Amen. Okay, guys, that is it, y'all. I mean, man, this was, just absolutely wonderful. Like I said, give the brother a shout out. Omar says, amazing, Madhavan. Looking forward to see where all this takes you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And Kimmy says, obviously love what you are doing. Obviously, yeah, he loves what he's doing. He's passionate.
Yep.
Passionate.
Yep.
And Hannah says, thank you, Madhavan.
Thank you.
And Trish says, love it. Thank you. Look at the love. I love when you guys give the brother love. Yes. Give the brother some love. It's a great way to start the day, right? I think that's it.
Thank you, guys.
Amparo says, absolutely loved this interview. Okay. Well, folks, I am going to clear this screen up, and you know what we do when we clear the screen up? That means we're getting ready to get out of here. And if you want to, we'll be live again. I mean, not live, but we'll have the repeat on Indie Soup Media. So you can catch the repeat at 4:00 on Indie Soup Media on YouTube. Check that out. If you are in Instagram and you have never been to our Touch Base Daily on YouTube, make sure you come on over, subscribe, and like. And if you enjoyed this video with Madhavan, again, reach out to him. Go to his page as well. I'll have a link to his page so you can see his work on his YouTube as well there. And yeah, this is it, guys. We got to say goodbye. I don't want to say goodbye.
Let's goodbye for now. Goodbye for now.
Goodbye for now. Roshan says, awesome interview. And Aya says, thank you. This was great.
Awesome.
Okay, guys, we're out of here. Have a wonderful Wednesday, Wisdom Wednesday.